again, back in my days at Fisher Price Toys, we would always pick what we called a lead toy for the year, and we put a lot of activity around that, including a publicity event. So when we launched the Fisher Price Zoo, guess where we had a launch party? At London Zoo, right? And we invited the media to London Zoo for a free night at London Zoo, with a lot of fun and games around it, and some wine and sandwiches and things like that. And next day, days after that, we're getting all sorts of press about the new Fisher Price Play Family Zoo. We did another one for the Magic Box, and we held it at the London Magic Centre, which was fantastic fun. Got meeting all sorts of really close-up magicians, amazing stuff. And the press love that one too. So this can be very powerful. You just have to have a catch. You have to have a story that people are interested in. And don't try it once and give up. I mean, try it several times. It depends on who it hits at the newspaper or magazine or whatever, whether it interests them, whether the story is relevant. If it's a slow news day, you never know, it might pick it up. And if it's got a really good twist to it, they'll pick it up. They need stories themselves. And you know, there's nothing much better in my mind about a new startup business sharing a success story, or maybe sharing a challenge, which is what happened to this lady that my wife and I went and supported over in Yukon. They had a challenge. I can't honestly remember all the details. I think they had a fire or something and they had to restart, but you know, it worked. Next. Not going to go through all this. Again, this will be in the handout, the slides you'll get, but you know, some of the basic things to think about when you're writing a press release. Next slide. Same thing there. You can read all that. And then we talked about some of the marketing materials. These are some low-cost resources. Again, you guys are not necessarily starting up a business, so you might not need this, but if you want to refresh it, or you feel like I need to add some materials, there's a whole bunch of links to some pretty good resources here for low-cost support for marketing materials. Websites, almost everybody these days has to have a website. It helps build awareness, helps customers find you, builds credibility for your product. It can drive sales. It should drive sales. It can be the place that people first go to find your customer service department. And it can also act as an additional sales channel. I talked about that earlier, that this is where marketing and sales cross over. And of course, it's got national and global reach. And you can add on to a standard website, an e-commerce site, where you are selling your products and your services off of that website. You guys probably know most of this. And the basic elements, you know, getting the domain name and hosting service and blah, blah, blah. And there's a bunch of provider packages out there. It's relatively cheap to start a website. To get the most out of it is, again, it's quite a specialized field these days. Yeah. Next slide. But at the end of the day, a good website starts off with having clear goals. What is the purpose of this website? What am I trying to say, deliver through my website? Is it really user focused? I can't tell you how many websites I go on and I look at, and I like doing this. I do a lot of reviews of websites, and the words they use, you go, hang on, who are you talking to? You're talking to yourself. You're not talking to me. The person reading it, you're talking about you, or you're talking about someone that I don't even recognize. So you need to think, what type of language is the reader? Put yourself in the reader's shoes and mind when they're looking at your website. This is about them, not you, the web developer. Needs to be simple to navigate. People more and more and more, of course, have such little time that if it takes more than a click to find something, you've lost it. And God forbid, if you click and it doesn't take them to where they think they want to go, you've definitely lost them. Or if it makes them go back to where they already were, you've lost them. So, and again, I can't tell you how many websites I've reviewed where there's just been some basic errors in the navigation bars. So think about what are the most important things that you want to communicate. Don't try and cram everything on the first page, on the landing page. Make it the most important information, and then make it very simple to navigate from there. Make it very simple for them to I mean, that drives me nuts too. If I can't find the contact and get in touch with someone, a live human being, I'm gone, I'm out of here.
Sorry, just go back 1 second, just make sure I cover the key directives.
Oh, and very often, websites forget the ultimate goal is to help the viewer take action, do something with it. Maybe it should be to save something, maybe buy something, or go and get more information about something. So there should be some form or there should be some element that drives action on behalf of the reader. And then ultimately, of course, consistent with your overall message. Okay, thank you. We talked about this, very much a specialized area, but this is all about, there are now 8 billion people in the world. Or will be? No, I think it's June. I think June 25th there will be the 8th million person, something like that. And about 4 billion, are using some form of social media, and there's millions upon millions and millions and millions of websites. So how do you get to the top of the Google search? This is a piece of it, is having good content on your website, having the right words and having it written in such a way that it's more likely to come up with Google search. Okay. Oh, going back to one last one. I haven't put this on other slides, and I've realized that I need to add a slide here. A lot of the stuff I've been talking about tonight, I've been throwing a lot at you, trying to give you some general overviews things, but a lot of these things, you need to try and measure them. Very important to measure what you're doing. Otherwise, if you can't measure it, you can't improve it, right? So, particularly with regards to all these different elements of advertising, is set goals for what you're trying to achieve. Set a target for, maybe you're able to measure awareness, measure that, or maybe you're looking at how many people click. There are tools out there for measuring the effectiveness of email campaigns, for example. I'm not sure if I've got a link on there for that, but you can Google tools for checking email effectiveness, and there are some fairly simple, low cost, or even free tools that will even tell you whether someone opened it and forwarded it or did nothing with it. That is very useful information, and so track some of that and figure out which of your email campaigns are working, which ones aren't. Same with all of this stuff, particularly with social media. There are so many analytical tools out there for tracking what's happening when you have social media out there. Next slide. There's an example of all the web analytics that most good websites will have.
So SEO is for all sites, Google, Microsoft Word,
SEO is a general term for search engine optimization. So it's to do with, the words you use, and I don't know, maybe, you know more about this, Nigel?
Don't forget video. So your SEO is, when you go and type in Google, and you have the web addresses, you have the images, you have that. So all of that goes into SEO. So on your website, if you use, on your website, when you build a website, it has where you can put in what type of image it is.
Okay.
So when you Google, so like, for example, you Google cats, that just came to mind, cats. So you have an image on your website that's a cat. And on your website, you can put in what type of image that is.
Mhm.
Your video, when you're speaking, use the words that you are trying to market, cause that show up in Google section, in Google section also.
But I think what Oscar
Correct.
was
So-
asking in
so-
addition was,
correct.
does it work across all,
Website platforms.
does it work across all platforms, not just Google?
Or do you
I
gotta-
believe yes,
Yes.
and it's the same principle.
Or do you gotta
Don't
SE
work similar. The key is to have current content.
Correct.
Yes.
If you have a static web page and you don't change it very often, you'll get further and further down the list.
Right.
The other thing is that in the HTML, when you create your web page, you can put in keywords. Search engines look at those keywords.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So, if you don't have keywords in your HTML, the language that you wrote the web page with, most of your tools that will allow you to input keywords,
Mhm.
you wanna put as many keywords that describe the message you're trying to get across. That's what the search engines look at.
Okay.
The other way you can improve your search optimization is Google Ads and other, you can pay per click for, your website to appear higher on the list. You'll see whenever you do a search for, like, body shops.
Hmm.
Right.
If you do a search for body shops and you show up on page 30, no one's coming to your website.
Right.
So you need to be in the first half of the first page to be most efficient. Some ways you can do that is within your particular geographic area, you can buy a Google ad,
Hmm.
not that expensive.
That's right.
You can buy a Google ad and they'll put you to the top of the list. So that when people are looking for you in your particular geographical area, because based on their IP address, it'll find you.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm saying, cause Google has Google Maps.
Yeah.
iPhones have Safari or
Right.
whatever, Firefox, they have their own map thing. Then Microsoft, I don't know if they have maps, but if we all three had different phones, I had my Google, you had Microsoft, would we all be able to have a SEO for each of those, or I have to make accounts like on each section once?
The content of your web page,
Uh-huh.
search engines work the same way.
Okay,
They look at the keywords in your web page.
so they all track the same.
They're all
They're all tracking the same.
Okay.
We need to move on. Let's get through this, and then we have any time left for other questions, we can come back. So let's just move through this fairly quickly. Next slide, please. Well, not that fast. Sorry. Actually, I did talk about most of this, email marketing. We talked about ways of getting email addresses, and no, actually, I'm not gonna spend a whole lot of time on this. Let's go to the next one. You do have to watch out. There are some legal issues. You do have to provide people an opportunity to opt out, so they don't get it, spam. That is important, and it's, again, very annoying when you unsubscribe to something.
they keep on.
It all keeps coming back. It's like, go away, how do you get rid of it? Next slide. Whole bunch of this. I mean, I don't know, we don't have a class in this specifically on social media, do we? Master class.
We do have the master class,
Right.
but
Right.
we're looking to add that.
We really need to do that, because this is such a,
It's the
I wanna
chocolate
get
one.
on that too, cause I
Sure.
was gonna bring that to you guys' attention.
Okay.
yeah. We'll look into that, because this is
We've
such
got-
an
We've got a
important.
resource that's gonna be teaching part of the master
Right.
class, Ian. We're
Yeah.
gonna ask him if he'll add a class.
That's right. So again, you can read that, there's just so much you can do with online marketing. If you've got the skill sets yourself, or if you can afford to hire someone. Here in, depending on what exactly you're looking for, I've been doing a little bit of research recently. People are charging about $50 to $75 an hour for helping people do some of this stuff. And there are people out there to do it. When I was involved in the 3D printing industry, and we needed someone to help run some of our social media, we actually went offshore. Not sure I'm supposed to say that either, but we did. And we found some very cost-effective, very good social media people from Eastern European and Asian countries that did a good job for us. So far less. Okay, next slide. You know, it's just booming. I said, you know, we've got 8 billion people in the world, and we've got apparently 4.65 billion users of social media. Virtually everybody uses it. 300 million users in the US. That basically is everybody over the age of 4. And I bet there's probably some 4-year-olds
that's right.
probably doing it too, right?
My 2-year-old's pretty handy with his own.
Yeah.
Now he's fine.
So you just can't avoid it. You just can't avoid it. It's a question again of finding the right one. Again, in the materials, there is some handout material. There's some links to additional resources that you'll find interesting in this whole area. Next slide. You guys probably know this. This was the latest I could find. March 2022 was the top media sites. Who knows what's happening to number 5? I mean, we may or may not have number 5, I guess. Sometime, but, my son, who's 21 years old, he loves TikTok. He swears by it. I haven't quite figured out how they monetize TikTok, because I haven't actually seen any ads. I see lots of videos and things, but I haven't actually seen the ads.
That's what I'm wondering.
But I've also
You
been
just don't know
told,
which videos you're looking at as ads, because there's definitely ads.
yeah, I've also been told by several clients, business clients, that they made a TikTok video and their business took off. You know, same thing with Instagram.
Instagram, you gotta put in the work. TikTok, you don't really have to put in the work,
That's right.
but Instagram, you definitely have to put in the work.
Just put in more work.
Oh, from an SEO you're talking about, or for just in general?
Some exposure.
Yeah, for exposure.
TikTok, you just make some
Yeah,
TikTok.
Right. Yeah.
It's blood, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, some of it I think is luck as much, you know, if something goes viral, someone finds something funny. I mean, you know, Charlie bit my finger, I mean, who would have thought? And everybody and their brother knows about Charlie. Okay, next.
Oh, Charlie.
Oh, Charlie, I know. It was funny thing was, we actually had a dog at the time called Charlie, and Charlie would occasionally nibble your fingers, so I tied him pretty well. Again, more links to social media resources. Talked a little bit about this earlier, that you can go out there and help manage some of these sites using some of this software that's out there today. Again, some of it free, some of it, they have a low level that's free, and then you pay for an upgrade. Next slide. The thing about social media, again, you probably know this already, is the time. It just takes time. And like Cecil said, you know, you have to keep it up to date. You can't just put it out there and hope that, you know, do one Facebook post, you know, every 6 months and you're done. No, it doesn't work like that. You know, and you go, there's a hierarchy for it. You know, Twitter, you basically got to be out there every day. You know, Facebook at least once a week, and so on and so forth. So it takes time. Okay. Then there's event marketing, which for some businesses, some small businesses, can be very effective, particularly in the food and arts and crafts area. I've got a client that is in the arts and crafts field, and she goes to events. She supports that part of the market and does very well with it. Turns up where the target, you know, if you're in arts and crafts and your target audience is people who are interested in arts and crafts, what's a pretty good place to be? You know, an arts and crafts event and
Arts festival.
arts festivals, exactly. Does very well with that. And another one which is a little trickier is what we call cause marketing, where you have to be very honest and you have to follow through on this. Because if you're, you know, supporting a cause, you know, buy our product and 10% goes to this charity, you better make sure you do that. There's unfortunately, you know, a lot of scams out there, but done properly for the right reasons, it can be effective. Next, yeah. Just basic steps to hosting an event. You know, if you want to host an event to attract customers, I mean, in your business, maybe, you know, you wanna put an event on for people that, might be interested in distributing your product. Where you've got time to wine, dine, share some information with them, learn about you a little bit more. You know, not necessarily, doesn't cost a lot of money, may not get a whole lot of people show up. Thing is, people show up for those things for two reasons, either they're really cheap and just want the free wine and food, or they're really interested. And, very often it's the latter. And so you may not have a whole lot of people, but they're gonna be ones that, you know, you would have wanted there in the first place. So putting events together can be very effective. We're almost there. Next. Talked a little bit about this. I picked up some data from somewhere, and you know, products associated with a good cause do see increases in sales. Believe that or not, I don't know. Women, millennials especially, are cause conscious. I don't know how true that is either, but it's out there.
We do
And-
at Christmas every year, we started it 3 years ago,
Mhm.
and we call it Toys for Tots.